The Senate just voted to pull American forces back from a war, 50-48, and it doesn't bind a soul. Plus, the alert that goes dark for the kids who need it most. A gun ban with the line drawn at the cash register, and a housing bill held hostage at the president's desk. From amendment, this is the 10th.
Tick, 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 tock, lights on, this is our sound. 10 voices rising, shaking the ground. From the street to the steps where the deals go down. Welcome to the 10th now. The 10th, hey! Turn it up right now. The 10th, yeah! We don't back down. Truth in the beat, fire in the sound. This is the 10th.
Picture a parent at home, late afternoon. A child with autism, nonverbal, drawn to water, slips out a door that was latched a minute ago, and the parent does the right thing, calls 911. Right, but here's the gap. The Amber Alert, the emergency broadcast everyone knows, the one that lights up every phone in the area, only fires for a confirmed abduction, a description of a suspect, a vehicle, a license plate, and a kid who just wandered off fits none of that. None of it. So the single fastest tool the state has stays dark in the exact minutes that matter most. Hold on to that doorway. We come back to it at the end. This is the 10th, your Sunday briefing for Sunday, June 28th. What state legislatures and Congress actually did this week. In plain English, nonpartisan, bills first. And if there's a thread running through this week, it's this. In Washington and in the state houses, governments kept drawing lines around things that are hard to take back. A war you can't unstart. A child who can't be unlost. A gun sale. An algorithm pretending to be your therapist. A home bought out from under a family.
Everything we read about today, you can read for yourself at amendment.app. Let's start with the biggest one, and it's a first.
The marquee story is federal. House Concurrent Resolution 86 directs the president to remove U.S. armed forces from hostilities with Iran. And this week, the Senate passed it, 50-48. 50-48? That's tight. Was it party line? No. 4 Republicans crossed the aisle, and the House had already passed its companion, 215-208. One of the sponsors was Thomas Massie, a Republican, so this wasn't a one-party effort. Back up for a second. What actually is a war powers resolution? Good question. It's Congress using a law from 1973 to order American forces out of a conflict the president started without a formal declaration of war. It's the legislature pulling on the reins.
So American troops come home now?
Here's the catch, and it's in the fine print. This is a concurrent resolution. A concurrent resolution passes both chambers, but it never goes to the president's desk, and it doesn't carry the force of law.
So it's a statement, not a command.
It's a formal, on-the-record rebuke, and that matters because earlier attempts to invoke war powers against this operation were actually voted down. This is the first time one of them cleared the Senate.
So what does it do, practically?
Practically, it puts every senator on the record by name on whether Congress should reclaim its say over this conflict. It doesn't bring a single service member home, but it draws a line in the institutional record that wasn't there a week ago. What it changes is the record, not the deployment.
A war is about the largest thing a government can fail to take back.
It is. And the next story is one of the smallest things, and it's the one we're going to slow down for.
Okay, this next one is hard, and it's worth sitting with.
Go back to that parent in the doorway from the top of the show. Ohio House Bill 359 creates a statewide emergency alert built specifically for missing autistic and developmentally disabled children, a separate tier from the Amber Alert. They named it the Joshua Alert.
And the whole point is that gap you described at the top.
Exactly. Think about how an Amber Alert is actually built. It's built for a stranger abduction. The form a dispatcher fills out wants a suspect, a vehicle, a direction of travel, a license plate. It's a description of a person who took the child.
And a child who walked out on their own gives you none of that.
None of it. There's no suspect, no car, no plate. There's a kid and a body of water 2 streets over and a highway past that. For a parent who knows their child is drawn to water and can't call out their own name, those first 10 or 15 minutes are everything.
And in a lot of places, that's exactly the window where the system has nothing fast to offer. Because the one tool that lights up every phone in the area is locked behind a definition the child doesn't meet. Right. So picture that parent, standing in the yard, watching the search stay small. A couple of officers, a few neighbors, quiet and slow while the clock runs. The Joshua Alert is built to close that exact gap. It lets the state push the same kind of region-wide broadcast for a child whose disappearance isn't an abduction. But he's every bit as dangerous. Same reach, same urgency. For the kid who wandered.
And it's not just Ohio thinking about this.
It isn't. A handful of states have built versions of this. But here's where Ohio's number means something. How do you think the vote went?
On something like this, I'd hope wide.
It passed 95-0 in the Ohio House and 31-0 in the Senate. Governor Mike DeWine signed it.
Unanimous. Both chambers. Not a single no.
Unanimous. In a year when almost nothing is. And put a person inside that number. Every single legislator who took that vote, 95 in one chamber, 31 in the other, was picturing the same doorway. That's what it takes to get a number with no other side.
There was a second one like this, too.
There was. Massachusetts did its own quiet act of recognition. Senate Bill 2563 strikes the R word and outdated terms like handicapped out of hundreds of references across state law and swaps in person-first language. Governor Maura Healey signed it after both chambers passed it unanimously. 2 states, same week, same decision. The law's own words should match the people it's actually about.
Let's shift to Virginia, and a contested one. Host B, I know you've got the question everyone asks on this.
I do. Virginia House Bill 217 bans the sale, purchase, and transfer of assault firearms and large-capacity magazines. A large-capacity magazine just being one that holds more than a set number of rounds. Governor Abigail Spanberger signed it. It takes effect July 1st. So here's my question. Does this take guns away from people who already own them?
No, and this is the part that gets lost. The bill has a grandfather clause. Anyone who lawfully bought one of these firearms before the effective date keeps it. What's banned going forward is the sale and the transfer, not current ownership.
So the line is drawn at the cash register, not the closet.
That's a fair way to put it. And the vote was close for a bill that got signed. The House passed it 60-35, the Senate 21-19. We're not arguing the merits here. We're not. We tell you what it does and the recorded margin, and you decide. That's the whole job.
Now, 2 states drawing 2 very different lines around the same technology, artificial intelligence.
Start with Rhode Island, because this one's striking.
Rhode Island House Bill 7349 makes it illegal for an algorithm to pose as a licensed therapist. Governor Dan McKee signed it after the House passed it 69-2.
What does the law actually bar?
It bars AI from simulating emotional attachment or manufacturing dependency with a patient, and it blocks unlicensed companion chatbots from offering mental health support at all. The line Rhode Island drew, a machine cannot pretend to be your clinician.
And New York drew a different kind of line.
A different one, about words on a page. New York Senate Bill 8451, they call it the Fair News Act, would require news organizations to label any article, image, or report created with generative AI. Generative AI being the kind of system that writes or generates content on its own.
How'd it move?
It cleared the New York Senate 53-7, and the Assembly 130-1. It now heads to Governor Kathy Hochul's desk.
So Rhode Island says AI can't impersonate a person, and New York says AI made news has to say so out loud.
Same week, same technology, 2 different places to put the fence.
And one from Washington, a housing bill that got caught in a standoff.
2 federal moves this week collided. First, the Senate passed the 21st Century Road to Housing Act, House Bill 6644, by 85-5, the most sweeping federal housing bill since the financial crisis.
85-5 is about as bipartisan as it gets these days. What's in it?
A lot, but the headline provision is a cap that bars Wall Street firms owning at least 350 single-family homes from buying up any more. It already cleared the House, too.
So it's headed for a signing.
That's where it stalled.
Not in Congress, but at the president's desk. The president canceled the signing ceremony, saying he won't sign the housing bill until Congress also passes the SAVE Act, House Bill 7296.
And the SAVE Act is a voting bill, not a housing bill.
Right. It would require documentary proof of U.S. citizenship, a passport, a birth certificate, to register to vote in federal elections. And it's only been introduced. It hasn't passed. So a housing bill that 85 senators voted for is now waiting on an unrelated voting bill.
We describe the standoff. We don't assign a motive to it.
That's the rule.
A few numbers to land with from this week.
4. The number of Republicans who crossed the aisle to give the Senate War Powers Resolution its 50-48 margin. 95-0 and 31-0. Ohio's vote on the Joshua Alert in both chambers. 85-5. The Senate's vote on the federal housing bill now waiting at the president's desk. And July 1st, the day Virginia's assault firearms ban takes effect. One more signal, off the bills. This week, the fastest climbing petitions over at ResistBot were pointed at the squeeze on household costs, one pushing every state legislature to follow New York's lead and rein in the data centers driving up electric bills, and another on that federal housing bill stuck at the president's desk.
The public's attention is tracking the same thing the bills are: who pays and who decides.
So go back to where we started. The parent in the doorway, the child who wandered, and the alert that used to stay dark.
That's what Ohio's 95-0 was actually about. Not a procedure, a family.
And in a way, that's the whole week in one image. State house after state house and one Senate floor, deciding what a family won't have to lose. Everything we talked about today, every bill, every vote, every status, is at amendment.app.
For the full text, status, and plain English breakdown of any bill we mentioned today, head to amendment.app.
If the 10th is useful to you, follow the show wherever you get your podcasts and leave us a review. It's genuinely how new listeners find us.
Thanks for listening to the 10th. We'll see you next Sunday.
If they lock the gate, we move as one. If they change the rules, we don't run. No more borrowed truth, no more fake grace. We raise our flags in a different place.